All right. All right. Now we're recording. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing well, David. Thanks for having me on your podcast. This is exciting.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you doing it. Now you're a comedian and you're from Michigan, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. When did you get involved in comedy?
I've been doing comedy for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And I got involved, it was like a long time ago. Before I started doing comedy, I was running a lawn service, and I was working at this bar called The Shook. I was like a promoter for their crazy country night on Thursdays. and so I was like doing that. Like I was kind of like living a fun life, just, enjoy like getting people to come out and party with me, and then mowing grass during the day. And I seen that Ralphie May was coming to town. He was coming to the Temple Theater in Saginaw. And I was like, oh, dude, I seen this guy in Last Comic Standing. He's hilarious. This guy's so funny. And I like looked at their Facebook page, and they didn't have anybody invited to it. And I'm like, well, this is what I do for a living, is getting people, invited to parties and stuff like that. So I hit up the promoter, and I said, hey, if you give me 4 free tickets, I'll add like 5,000 people to this event. This was like the day. This is like back in the day when you could add whole, like, Facebook used to let you invite like whole like lists, like your whole friend list. You could do like 3,000 people in like one click.
Oh my
gosh.
And
but like you had to like have like a secret little like HTML code to do it. And like it wasn't hard, but like I knew how to do it. And the guy said for sure. So I added the like 5,000 friends from like the Shook, and then my friends and everybody's friends. I got them added to the event. And the promoter for the show, who was awesome, by the way. Next thing I know, he was like, oh, well, do you want to hang up flyers? Do you want to go like hand out flyers after like hockey games and try to get people to the show? And I'm like, absolutely. And I'm like, just out here doing exactly what I do for Crazy Country Nights, but for Ralphie May. And when he comes and does the show, he's hysterical. He murders. Like, he brings down the house in Saginaw. I laugh so hard, my freaking cheeks hurt afterwards. And this is kind of crazy, because I remember there was this girl that I really liked, and she would never give me, she wasn't giving me the time of day, but she came to the Ralphie May show with me. And at the very end, Ralphie May's like, look at this guy who brought you here. He paid for these expensive tickets. He bought you dinner. He bought these expensive beers. You at least give this man a blowjob tonight. And I was like laughing my ass off. And that was the first and last time I ever hooked up with that chick. And like it became like a reality to me. Like, because when you live in Michigan or like, kind of like in Saginaw, where there's no clubs anywhere around, it doesn't feel like it's a reality to be a comedian. It feels like you have to go to LA or New York or or Chicago, and like it just became real. It became like, oh, this can happen near you. And it didn't really like it like planted the seed for me. And then maybe like a year or two goes by, and like I've been thinking about it. I'm talking to my friends. I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm like coming up with scenarios in my head about what hecklers are gonna say to me. I'm writing it down. I'm like, this guy's gonna say this, and I'm gonna come back at him. And like none of the stuff that you can ever predict. It would never, like, you can never predict what's gonna happen on stage. But in my mind, I'm like trying to figure it out, and I'm telling my friends like, I'm gonna do this. And unfortunately, my dad passes away of a heart attack unexpectedly, and like this was like the guy who like taught me about business, taught me about life, and I didn't expect it to happen so quickly, and with a couple other losses in my life, one of my best friends committed suicide, and then my dad passed away, and it was just like, whoa, I like had this realization that life is not guaranteed. And if I want to do something in this life, if there's something I want to do, I should just do it, because you never know. Tomorrow's not guaranteed, and you got to go for it. So when he passed away, I was like, all right, I'm going, I'm gonna do comedy, and I'm gonna go to LA. And I was really lucky. My friend Matt let me stay on his couch in North Hollywood, and I was so nervous about doing any kind of shows. Like I was there for like, 3 months. I was petrified doing open mics, but I did it. I finally got on stage, got up at the Ha Ha North Hollywood, and it was fun. And then I got a job work for Pauly Shore, interning for Pauly Shore.
Holy
And
cow.
he's coming in. He's like, I heard you're a comedian. He's like, I got to see your act. And I'm like, thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, out loud, I'm like, yeah, I'll show you. And in my head, I'm like, I got to write an act. I got to come up with something because I got nothing. I got nothing at all. And it was just like really, really crazy because all of a sudden I'm in the place where like Jim Carrey, got his United States start. You know what I mean? Like,
wow, yeah.
that was like his home. Like the Comedy Store was like his home because Pauly Shore, his office, like right above the Comedy Store, and I'm like seeing these pictures like Ralphie May on the wall and Jim Carrey and
all the legends,
the Wayans brothers, and everybody that's done comedy like is on this wall, and you're like, whoa, this is I'm amongst the legends of comedy, this mecca. Unfortunately, I was still running the lawn service, so I had to go back in the summertime. I went in the winter. I came back, got into started mowing the lawns, and then I went back out the next year. And I'm like, this year I'm taking it super serious. I'm gonna get up as many times as possible. I got up, I think it was like 66 times in like 3 months.
whoa.
And I'm looking at it like this is like comparatively of how many sets I could do in Michigan compared to how many sets I could do in LA. So like in Michigan, like I live in Saginaw. So if I was going to do an open mic, I'd have to go to Lansing. I'd have to go to Detroit, Grand Rapids. Those are like the main three spots you can go. And they're all an hour and a half.
This episode is brought to you by Red Bike Delivery. This delivery service operates only using battery-powered, eco-friendly transportation. Red Bike Delivery is there for all your delivery needs, whether it's dinner for the family, flowers for your partner, or new houseplants for your new collection. Red Bike Delivery will gladly deliver those and everything in between. So what are you waiting for? Check out Red Bike Delivery on Facebook or Instagram for more information. Red Bike Delivery, because there's only one Earth.
So if I could get to a mic, once or twice a week, like I might be doing 66 sets the whole year,
Right,
so I'm like, I'm
right.
gonna get this experience. And when I came back, I'm like, all right, I'm feeling it. I got a little bit of, some shows under my belt. I worked at the Ha Ha North Hollywood, like just like helping them do anything that they could do. Like this is how I met one of my best friends in comedy. I remember I was out there and it was like coming to like New Year's Eve. And so like, I remember I'm at the Ha Ha Comedy Club. I've been helping out. I'm like grabbing ice for them, helping with marketing. Cause I did promotion. So I'm like, I'll help you with the marketing. I'll help you with anything you need to do. I just want to learn how to do comedy. And, John Melendez was there, Stuttering John from Howard Stern, and he's just hanging out there, and he's like, "Come to this party in Las Vegas, man. I'm having a party. Come out there." And I'm like, "Oh, for sure. That sounds like a great idea." And then the owner of the Ha Ha is like, "Hey, do you want to work? You want to help here at the club?" And I'm thinking in my head like, "I'm gonna get on stage on New Year's Eve, like this is gonna be great." And they had me DJ, and and everybody back home was like having a good time. I'm calling my friends. They're all drunk. They're like, "Yeah, dude, Happy New Year's." And I'm like, "I miss you guys. I'm out here. Hopefully I'm going to get some stage time." And I'm like in this like small ass, like the smallest sound booth of all time. It's like a little closet with like a little peek hole. And you can like see everybody out there with their friends and family, like having a great time. And like the first show goes by. I didn't get on stage. The second show goes by. And like it's dawning on me like I'm not getting on stage. I just missed this party in Vegas. And, you know, I'm away from all my friends and I'm all like kind of like defeated a little bit. And I see this guy, Nick Guerra, go on stage and he's hilarious. He rips the freaking roof off the place. And I was like, oh, and like, I was just like, oh, good set. You know what I mean? Like, good set. And, but I felt like kind of sad about it. But then like, I went back home and I started my own show, the Future Comedy Show, like right next to my house, like at a small little bar. And all of a sudden I'm looking on TV. I'm like, oh, hey, that guy who was just headlining that show was just on Last Comic Standing. He got on Last Comic Standing. And I'm like, that. I'm like that. I was like, I just seen that guy. And the next time I go to LA, I come back every winter for like 4 years straight. And I see him, I'm doing the show. And this is after he's got Last Comic Standing. He's got a Comedy Central credit. I'm like, hey, dude, what kind of advice you got for me? And he's like, we started talking comedy. He's like, I'll come to Michigan. I'll do a show with you. And I mean, we did a show at the State Theater. I had him come and I was like, I'm going to promote it. I lost like $4,000 on the show. Well, because in the beginning too, is like, you think like putting on shows is going to be like input, like output, like right. You'll be able, like you put the money into advertising, it's going to come out. Yeah. So I got like a radio ad for like $4,000 and it sold like 30 tickets. It was I literally sold all the tickets by hand. We had like 130 people there and I sold 100 of them like by hand and the radio sold like 30 and I spent like $4,000 on the radio. And it hurt. It hurt my soul, but Nick was so nice. He gave me some of my money back, which was like very nice. And we were friends ever since then. I don't know. Now I'm on a huge just tangent of how I got started.
No, I think that's awesome to hear, because when a lot of people like come to see you at your show, they imagine that you're just like inherently naturally funny, and that you've probably been doing it for a long time, and they don't understand like the struggles that it took in order to get where you are today.
Oh yeah.
Correct?
It's easier to start the book in the middle of the book and being like, oh, this guy's just a natural talent here.
Right. So would you have considered yourself kind of always a funny guy? Or
yeah. I mean, like my domain of of doing comedy like started on the bus, like when I was like really young. Like I remember my friend, he was on the bus with me. He told me my first street joke I ever heard. It was on the bus. His name was Justin. I remember he had this joke about this flea, and this flea goes to his cousin's flea's house, and the flea gets there. He's cold. He's like, "Brr, I'm cold." And the cousin flea goes, "Why are you so cold?" He goes, "Well, you know, I got in this biker guy's beard and he rode Harleys all winter and I'm freezing." And then the other flea goes, "Well, you need to go find a nice lady, go crawl up her leg, find a nice little spot. It'll be warm there. You come back next spring and tell me how you do." And he comes back the next spring and he goes, "Oh, okay." He goes, "I'm freezing." And the flea goes, "Why? You didn't do what I said?" And he goes, "Yeah, I did exactly what you said to do, but somehow I got stuck in that biker guy's beard again." And like when he told me that joke on the bus, I started like looking up all sorts of jokes online. Like there used to be like a website like funny.com or something like that. And it was literally just street jokes. And I would look up blonde jokes and, you know, every kind of sexual joke there was. And I would get everybody around the bus and tell these jokes that I memorized the night before. And it was kind of like the back of the bus. That's like where all the jokes were. Like, "I'll come back here. We're going to tell the jokes." That's probably where it started. But then like I did academic track, which was like this skits, like the schools competed with like 5 kids a piece, and you get like a premise, and like they give you 5 minutes to plan it and 5 minutes to perform it, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're watching your little sister and she breaks the vase that's been in the family for 3 decades. What do you do?" And you have to think of some kind of, you know, humorous way to fix the problem. And then we did that, and my team was good. My cousins were on it. We had a lot of fun. and then I did drama, and that was like such a slack off class, but it was so much fun. We'd like sneak out and get Burger King and go on the roof and smoke pot. And but I did get the lead in one of them, and I got the lead in like this murder mystery play, and I didn't like learn any of the lines. So like a week before, I had to pretend to be sick for the whole week and listen. I recorded all the lines on like a MP3 player, listen to them.
That was back in the day.
Like I'd pretend that I was sick, go to the office and just listen to my lines all day, and like prepping for the show that I didn't know any of the lines. I'm the lead and I don't know any of them. And fortunately I learned all the lines just in time. And the weekend before, like I have a party at my house, and this kid comes over and he wasn't invited, and I'm like, dude, you gotta leave, man, these are my friends. And then he headbutted me in the face and slammed my face onto a counter, and I had the biggest black eye ever during my debut lead as an actor.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I learned that day that it doesn't matter if your friends are there. You got to watch out for these crazy people.
Well, that's one thing I found really interesting coming to your comedy show, the Future of Comedy show. Was it Friday night? Yes, Friday night. That you guys did not hold back. You guys were not concerned about cancel culture, the shit you guys were joking about. I was like, damn, like I felt free. It was awesome.
It felt free.
It felt free. You weren't concerned about hurting people's feelings, which you shouldn't be. If you're doing comedy, you shouldn't be concerned about offending somebody, right?
Yeah. Well, it's never my goal to ever offend anybody. That's not my goal is to like bring you as much value as possible. Like I want you to have as much fun for the ticket price as possible. And I never want anybody to be upset. And I think that with like the people that I have on the show, Big Juicy was on the show and myself, and it was just like our energies are like very authentic, and like you can tell that anything we're saying is not coming from a place of malice. We don't want anybody to like have hurt feelings or not feel good about themselves, but we're gonna definitely bust your balls a little. You know, it's part of the gig.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I just love that, because a lot of times I think comedians are afraid to say certain things because they're afraid of, the way the crowd might respond, or they're afraid of getting canceled or whatever. But it was kind of liberating to go to your show and then hear some of the jokes that some of the comedians were saying. I was like, okay, this is awesome. Like, it feels like comedy.
Yeah, well, we're not famous enough to get canceled anyway, so like
it could happen.
It could happen.
I'm not that big. This podcast is not that big, but people have tried canceling me for some of the guests I've had on. It's ridiculous.
Well, people have nothing to do. That's like the crazy thing is if you don't like it, just don't watch it. That's
exactly.
You're not forcing anybody to download your podcast,
right?
Or
exactly. You're
like,
not forcing anybody to go to
I don't know
show.
who the guests are, so I'm not sticking up for them.
Right. No, it's generally like politicians or whatever, those kind of guests, people who would like naturally, I guess, just be considered controversial,
Yeah.
But
absolutely, politics are hard.
It's not fun.
That's what I've been telling everybody is lately at my shows. I might not mention it at Jackson, but I've been trying to tell people is we can't wait for politics or politicians or people, the left or the right, to come save us or make things better. We got to start really looking at our community and being like, hey, the people are here at this show together. We're the people that are here for each other. So we need to start taking care of each other right here.
Absolutely.
I can't believe how many people get ripped in politics, and I feel that both sides really don't have a vested interest in the common person. You know what I mean? So it's funny that people get so excited about it. They're like, oh, my team, my team. Like, and really both sides really, I mean, they don't give a shit. In my opinion, they care about.
that's why I like comedy so much, because it's something that anybody can go to and just laugh. Like if you go, especially like if you're joking about politics and you have like just a point of view of like, okay, this guy's just trying to be funny. And like most comedians don't have like I guess a narrative that they're trying to get like put out on stage. They're just trying to be funny. And so whenever I go to a comedy show and I hear somebody talk about politics, like it's not one of those dividing things. If anything, it makes I feel like people come together.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, it depends on what you're talking about, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, in Michigan, it was crazy doing shows through the pandemic. I mean, with everything shutting down, every show we did, I mean, we were joking that Whitmer was going to come in, bust through the door, and shut us down at any moment. And people really like that joke. People really like that. They like the idea that she was going to come to the show and shut us down. But luckily, I mean, comedy's back, because that is maybe the last true form of free speech left.
I really believe it is.
I mean, because if you know, you have Twitter, you can get kicked off Twitter. If you have YouTube, you can get kicked off YouTube. Any of those platforms, you can be kicked off.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a fan base, I mean, even if you have a fan base and they kick you off, you might not be able to reach your audience. But I mean, if you have a true audience, I mean, you can never truly be canceled in comedy, I don't think. I mean,
not unless you're Bill Cosby.
Yeah, I mean, who knows though? I mean, I have a feeling people would come see Bill Cosby.
I think so.
Sometimes I have a joke about Bill Cosby, and it's just a quick little one-liner, and you'd be surprised how many people are like, "Oh, my childhood, don't remind me." You know what I mean? Like, don't remind me what he did. Like, and they may never really believe it. Like, that, you know, that's not, you know, that's not real. Oop.
Right. How often do you write jokes, or do you write every day? What's your process like?
So I do write every day, but it's like I journal. So I like just journaling my thoughts. So like, all right, well, this is like my goals and my gratitudes, and like just kind of like what's happening in my life, what I think I need to change to make it better, to get to the point where I want to be. But I do a lot of writing on stage, because like things will happen on stage, and I'll go, oh, that was funny, and then I'll remember it, and I'll go, okay, I'll just add that as like a one-liner to my act, you know, somewhere in here, like, because like a lot of it's improv, but
yeah,
but you can find these spots that are like, you can use the same line again. You're like, oh, this is a good spot for it. Like, I mean, when people are going like this and holding their arms, and you know, that's my one line with the formula shortage going on. I'm like, oh, you know, this guy heard there's a formula shortage, and he's like, not getting it from me. You know what I mean? Like, that line's gonna work for like, I don't know, probably another 6 months. I don't know. I'm gonna squeeze as much out of it as possible until it's not longer relevant.
Right. So when you were on stage Friday night and you were doing most of it was improv, right?
Yeah, I think so. I do Jackson all the time. Like, okay. Jackson's like my second largest market that I do. Not like largest in per capita, but like with the, like how many like with ticket sales and stuff like that, it's like my second market. Okay. And I do shows there all the time. So a lot of people have seen me there. So I'm not trying to repeat any material. So right. I'm doing a lot of improv on that one. But if I go to a new market, like I've got jokes I've been working on, you know, I've been doing 10 years, and you've seen, I didn't do any actual jokes when you were there.
No, you didn't. It was
so
all improv.
Like I'm going to be going to Cody, Wyoming and Billings, Montana in the beginning of August. So I'll be doing like my whole entire, you know, all my A stuff, and, you know, for people that never seen me before. But I try to put on a good show either or. I mean, that's like kind of how you strengthen your act. You're like, all right, well, these guys seen it. And that might have been one of the reasons why I feel my strength is in my like my crowd work or my improv is because when I first started, like I was saying, it was so far away to go do any of these open mics. But I had a show that I was doing weekly, like not even a quarter mile away from my house. So I was doing that every single Wednesday. And this is another way I felt like I got good was I was doing the same room. I was doing a show in Saginaw one day, Bay City one day, and Midland one day. So I'd have like 3 shows in a row, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I'd bring in comics from all over the place. You know, I'd be like, hey, I got to run a shows for you. Come on and go do a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with me. And I would stay in the middle, and this audience would see me every week. So I'm like, I'm putting my feet against the fire. I got to go up there and rip, you know, every week in front of the same audience. So I have to come up with new stuff. I gotta be over like expanding all the time, because once somebody hears the joke the second time, they're like, heard it. Like they'll be like finishing the punchlines, and like it's not good. Like it gets stale real quick. Nobody wants to watch the same jokes over, especially not live.
Right,
like,
right.
Maybe on a, you watch a special that you really like, you watch it a bunch of times, but people don't want to see the same, 15 minutes every week.
Yeah, that's one thing I was telling my wife, watching you on Friday. I was like, his improv skills are like off the chain, because I mean, you were able to just like right off the cuff just start making fun of people and carry on the jokes, and even the whole music improv thing was pretty good too.
Yeah, the music improv is like what really ties it all together, because because people don't understand what I'm doing for the most of the time. They're like, what's this guy? Like it's so funny, because when I first started, or maybe like 3-4 years into comedy, there's this like really like huge guy who was like 6 foot freaking 8. He's built like a damn giant, just humongous, right? And he was like talking through everybody's set. So when I get up there, I'm like roasting him. I'm roasting everybody, but I'm roasting him especially. And he's all mad. He's like, "You got no jokes. You got no jokes." He's like mad because I don't got no set up punchlines. And I'm like, "You're the joke. You're the joke." And he's like humongous, and he's wasted. He's like, "My dad served in World War II." He was like, man, like, but like people don't understand like what the hell is this guy doing? But then when it comes all back, and it all comes back to a song, people are like, "Oh, okay." It's like a little bow on the top. Like, "Oh, all right, I get what you're doing now."
It's almost like you're collecting data from the crowd and to use later on in the musical or in the music portion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes I like have to like stop myself from like saying the joke right away, because they'll say something, and I'll be like, all right, well, I'm gonna get a couple of jokes after they say something, but then I want to keep the real good joke for like the song, because like you can like when people say stuff, I'm like, all right, okay, well, I can connect this with this, and then I just want to keep it for the grand finale. I'm like, cool. I'll just be like, "Oh, I like that. Ooh, I like that. I'll be back to you."
Oh, that's funny. Now you have a bunch of shows coming up, don't you?
Yeah, I'm like booked almost solid until December.
Holy shit.
But I do have the summer series coming up. I got Croswell this weekend. When's this podcast go
up? That's a good question. It'll either be later this week or the beginning of next week.
Okay. Yeah, if anybody can hear, I gotta you get all my dates at MikeBall, DOTCOM.com, MikeBall.com.com.
Okay.
You probably post that in the
show notes.
In the show notes, if you want to see any shows. I got Croswell, Lake Orion, Cadillac, Michigan, Bay City, Traverse City, Billings, Montana, Cody, Wyoming, Port Austin. They're all coming up, and then getting into the fall, there's a ton of dates all over Michigan.
That's cool. That's very cool. Now, is comedy something you do full time now?
Oh yeah. So I've been doing comedy full time for 7 years, I think.
Whoa. So 3 years in.
Yep. So it might have been, yeah. So the last time I went to, it might be 6. I'm trying to, I can't remember if it's the 3rd or 4th year. This time flies like crazy, but I remember I was in LA, and that guy, remember that guy, the owner of the haha. So
Yeah.
I was working there again, like when I came back, and he was like, "Oh, I'll let you sublease my sister's condo for a month or whatever for like $800." And I'm like, "Hell yeah!" So I'm like renting out this apartment for $800, and I'm like sitting there on my phone, and I see that there's a like event on the comedybureau.com, and it says making money doing screenplays. And I'm like, well, I like to make money. Like, I'd like to learn how to make money doing screenplays. And it goes hosted by Judd Apatow. And I'm like, what the hell? $5 for Judd. You know who Judd Apatow is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like Freaks and Geeks and 40-Year-Old Virgin and Super Bad. I mean, dude, he's involved in like all of my favorite projects, especially when like that time of my life. So I'm like, oh, like, holy crap, like it's happening in like an hour. So I jump right in my car. I head down to the UCB theater. I get out. The parking's $5. I'm just like talking to the parking guy. I'm like, parking's $5. Judd Apatow is going to be talking for $5. Like, do you believe he's going to be giving away his information? How to make money doing screenplays for $5? $5? Like, I'm like, my mind is blown. Like, it's like cheaper than a fucking $5 Subway sandwich, you know? At the time, I'm like, I cannot believe it's only $5. And I'm like sitting there, and I'm like sitting in line. I'm talking to everybody. I'm just out of my mind. $5, like I can't believe it. And I like, there's a lady up in the front, and she has a clipboard, and she's like, I'm like, hey, can I get a ticket for this? And she goes, well, we're sold out, but I can put you on the wait list. And I'm like, how long is the wait list? And she's like, you're 30th on the wait list. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm like thinking, oh, this might be a tough chance to get in, you know? But I just keep up a good attitude. I go buy a book next door. I'm talking to everybody still. And all of a sudden, everybody starts going to the theater. And the first person on the list was like, I can't remember his name exactly, but we'll just say John or something. And he goes, oh, John +3. And the guy goes, I only have 2. And this was like literally one of the people. I was like, $5? I can't believe it. And I go, can I be the extra one? And he goes, yeah, can he be the extra one? And I get in against all odds. And I'm like, second row, stage left. And Judd Apatow comes out. The whole place goes wild. Sold out show. Judd Apatow. And the first thing he goes, who's here for entertainment and who's here to learn? And I'm like so hype. I'm like, I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn. Like, I'm like way louder than anybody. And he just like looks at me and he goes, oh, well, what do you want to learn about? And I'm like, well, you know, I run a lawn service during the summer, and I'm out here in the winter time, trying to learn as much about comedy as I can. So anything that you want to teach me, like, I'm here to learn. Like, I love all your stuff, all your movies. And I'm like going like all through all the stuff. I'm like, oh, Freaks and Geeks and 40-Year-Old Virgin. I'm like naming off everything he's done. And he's like, oh, I like you, you know? And then all of a sudden, and this is, I feel so bad because I can never remember this guy's name. And this other comic comes out, and it'll come to me. It'll come to me like as soon as I tell the story. And he's the pivotal point. I feel so bad. He's a Chicago comic, but he's like coming out, and he's like going back and forth with Judd Apatow, and he's like making fun. He's like, you never give me any good roles in your movies or whatever. And I'm like sitting over there, and then Judd kind of like looks at me and goes, oh, like, what did you think about anything? Like, what, like anything you want to learn about specifically? And I was like, well, you know, I guess, like, how do I get into movies with you and Seth Rogen? and the whole place laughs, right? They're like, ah! And Judd like starts to like rub his chin, and he's like about to answer. And this is, I'm killing myself for not being able to remember this, what his name was. It was super funny comic too. And he like cuts him off. He cuts off Judd and he goes, I'll tell you what to do. You quit that stupid lawn service and you just come out here and do it. You can't do it if you're running a lawn service. And I'm like, like, duh. Like, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. So I go back home. I get this book called The One Thing. And it also says, like, you got so many units of energy. You got 100 units of energy, and like you're using 50 of them on your lawn service business and only 50 on like, or like, for instance, say like for somebody who has a day job and they work 40 hours of their day job and then they do 10 hours of comedy. That's 80 units of energy towards somebody else's dream and only 20% towards your dream. So you gotta swap that. Like, you gotta be like, make that 20% enough to live, to, you know, to follow your dream, and then like cut overall overhead cost, or to get to 100%. Because once you use all your energy at the thing, it starts moving. You know, life is a game of input outputs. Like, the more you put in, the more you're gonna get out. Right. So like at the end of that year, I remember like I had a guy quit on me like right before the end of the year. It's like cold outside. I'm shoveling out this grass on the back of this truck the last day. I'm like, this is the last day ever I'm doing this. I remember I'm like, I went and told like my second family. I have like a second family. I'm like, hey, this is the last day I'm selling this lawn service. I'm going full time. And it was really early on. It was like really super early on. And I did end up getting a little bit of money for the lawn care business. And I like went, like, I was like doing comedy, and I like see my savings dwindling because I wasn't making any money yet. Like, all my money, I was like getting down lower and lower and lower and lower. And all of a sudden, like, I'm like at like $7 in my account. And I'm like, I gotta really start making some money. So I started making some moves. Like, all right, I'm like, well, I gotta produce more comedy shows. So I started producing more comedy shows. And then the next thing I know, I get a call from like this golf resort. They want me to host like 9 shows for $100 a piece. I'm like jumping in my living room, like, yo, dude, I freaking got booked for $900, like for like 9 shows. It's funny. And I'm excited as all hell. I'm jumping through the living room, calling my family, like, you never believe I just got a $900, you know, gig. I mean, it's 9 shows, but like, for me, I was like, okay, here we go. We can do this. We just got to keep the overhead as low as possible. Like, no extra stuff. Like, you know, no new cars. Like, driving old. Like, I have a joke about my old Pontiac Aztek. I drove like a 05 Pontiac Aztek for, I don't know, that I got it for $1,200. And yeah, I mean, it needed a head gasket. I found out. But like, just driving, like, just keep my overhead low, like not spending any money on anything unnecessary. Like, I'm gonna keep my overhead low. I'm like, I ended up quitting drinking like 6 years ago. So like, that pretty much was like one of those like moments, like, all right, I'm gonna stop spending my money on alcohol. I'm gonna stop self-sabotaging myself with alcohol, which was a huge deal of self-sabotage with alcohol. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast.
I was gonna say, what do you mean by that? Do you like, you would drink and?
Well, I mean, I think like throughout like my whole life, like I was always getting in trouble with alcohol. Like, I got like MIPs, like minor in possessions. And then it was funny because that one show that I got booked for, that nine show thing, the very last one was like the grand finale. There's like 300 people there, and they were like giving me alcohol. They gave me like a $50 tab every time. Whoa. And then people would just buy you stuff because, like, oh yeah, you're the host of the show. Like, let's get this guy drunk. He'll party with us. And I got a DUI in a parking lot listening to Ted Nugent Stranglehold. And like like it was like so crazy because I was there with like, you know, a comic friend of mine and a guy that worked at the resort, and I was like pulling out to like, we're gonna go to the store to go get some more alcohol or a blunt wrap or something, and I seen a cop go by, and I said, oh, I go, look at them, I'm going back in here, he's looking for drunk drivers. So I go back in and I'm just listening to Ted Nugent laughing, watching the cop go by that way again and then back that way again. And then he comes back again and pulls in the parking lot, pulls me over. When I'm already pulled over, it was like some freaking, what's that movie with all the cops? Super Troopers.
Oh,
Where he's
okay.
like, pull over. And I'm like, I'm already pulled over. And I end up getting a DUI, not like just in a parking lot.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm like, all right. So, and like now I'm going to get my license restricted. Now I'm going to have to pay all this, you know, all this money for, you know, drug testing and alcohol testing and therapy that they make you do. And then drive. And they were making me drive an hour and a half, like once a week to go get drug tested,
What?
like in Ionia County. So like,
oh my gosh.
like I was like sitting there and I'm talking to my buddy Mitch Gill, and he had quit drinking like a couple years earlier than that. And he's like, dude, you got like the formula here. Like you're a funny guy, you're hardworking. You know, if you just like focus yourself and stop, you know, self-sabotaging yourself, stop drinking, really put your energy towards your goals, it'll happen for you. And I was like, Mitch, you're right. And I felt like shit, like, because I always thought people that got DUIs were such losers. Like in my head, like if somebody got DUI, I was like, loser. Like I thought like people that got DUIs were like the biggest losers ever. So like I was funny. Like sitting in the jail cell eating a bologna sandwich, like I'm the biggest fucking loser ever. And I like got out and I was like, I'm done. Like I'm done. This is it. It took me like a little, like it took me maybe like a little while after. I think July 8th I'll be 6 years sober exactly.
Oh wow.
But like just like that kind of self-sabotage, I was like, all right, well, I'm done doing that. And it does help because you save a lot of money and you're not making bad decisions. You're not putting your safety at risk.
Do you think you've been more successful since you stopped drinking?
Well,
with comedy?
Yeah, I mean, I became more focused, and if anything, it was a gradual thing. It's finding out what's important to you and what actually helps you like towards your mission, you know, because a lot of times you get stuck in your head and you go, well, I got to do this. And then you realize that none of those things actually put you towards the direction that you want to be in. It's actually like these little minuscule tasks that aren't fun. Like Elon Musk would say, it's like, this is like your to-do list. Like this is just the stuff to keep things going, and just being able to focus on those things, like writing every day and like just trying to get something done for like your career every day. Like, all right, well, I'm going to sit down on the computer and I'm going to put out 10 things that are going to make, you know, help me get to my goal of what the overall, whatever the goal is for you. Like, I'm not sure. I don't want to share my whole master plan on here.
No,
but like
no.
I do have some goals. Like I mean, for like selling tickets, like I had to go, like, I've already sold more tickets this year in July right now than I did all of last year. Wow. So like, I'm trying to like really say, okay, how do I sell these tickets? What do I got to do? And these are like the real things that will add value to my life and be able to help other people too. Cause you can't fill from an empty glass, you know, you can't help anybody. You don't got anything to help with.
Yeah, that's one thing I've realized, like, especially with a podcast, because I also work a full-time job, is that if I do something every day, whether it's, you know, like if I'm not putting an episode out, let's say, but or editing an episode, but if I'm maybe promoting a past episode, or maybe I'm actively looking for a guest, or actively looking for some sort of sponsorship or something, whatever it is, or responding back to emails, as long as you're doing something every day, you're always kind of moving in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Like you're not staying stagnant.
Absolutely. And I think the key for me, what I'm learning too, because this is all gradual. Like in the very beginning, like I was very a procrastinator, wait till the last minute. And the like, I mean, like I was telling you about like the that theater show, the drama show, like I was like, wait till the last minute to do to learn my lines. But like,
how did you do, by the way?
Oh yeah, it was fun. I learned like literally like my cast were like, what the hell? Like the day before they're like, is he gonna get it? And like literally I got it like the day, like I like got everything nailed down right before.
Oh my
and it
gosh.
was so much fun. Like if anybody's like watching, you're younger and you're thinking about taking drama class and you're like, oh, I don't know, it's kind of a nerdy thing to do. No, just do it. It's so much fun. Like it is so much fun. Number one, the girls are the best that are in drama. Like they're like
always.
they're like they're just, I just remember my friendships from drama, and all the girls in the class were amazing, like just real fun people, and like very like I don't know, it's some of the best times in my life was drama class. But do that if you're thinking about that. But the main point I think I was talking about is the discipline to do that every day. If and once you like get it down and you're disciplined enough to do it like once a day, you start doing it every day for like 3 months, and all of a sudden you realize, hey, this ain't hard anymore. I was doing 3 things, but now I'm gonna do 6 things.
Yeah.
Oh, now the 6 ain't really that hard. Now I'm gonna do 15. And then by the time you're doing 15 things a day for your business or whatever, you don't need that other job, because now this business is making you so much money. Now all of a sudden you can put all the energy in there.
Yeah.
And it happens, but it's just gradual. It's like anything, like going to the gym. Like if you go to the gym, you just got to just get there 3 or 4 times a week. If you just go 3 or 4 times a week, after a year, you're going to want to be doing something. You're going to want to lift more weights. You're going to want to run a little bit longer than a mile. You're going to want to, you're going to see the progression, and then just want to add on to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like that with anything, at least for me. And for me, I'm like an addict too. So like whenever I get involved in something, I'm like, this is what I'm doing. And then I try to focus all my energy and everything into that one thing, or multiple things depending on what I'm doing. Like the podcast.
Well, when you reached out, I was like, David, I was like, who is this guy? What does he want? Let me see what this is about. Because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, come do this, and then they're not organized. They have no idea what they're doing. And then I looked, you had a nice calendar going on. You had good spots to, spot, like a abundant of slots to pick your date, do a podcast. And I was like, all right, this guy has it together. He's gonna make it. Just because you're planning it out, and you're focused on it. You got a calendar. You're wanting to do it. Like, you'll make it. It's gonna come for you.
Oh, thanks. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's just one of those things that when like I mentioned, I work full time, and so working full time and then trying to schedule things around my schedule, and then like if I'm scheduling with you, and we're going back and forth, like, no, that time doesn't work. What time works for you? Nope, that time doesn't work for me. But if I can provide a time that somebody can just go on and see what I have available, then they'll inherently just pick a time, whatever time suits them. It may be 3 weeks from now, but eventually 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday might work for them.
Yeah, we scheduled this like a month ago or even farther.
Yeah.
I mean, so that worked out. I mean, that's pretty good. That's smart, because you'll get some good guests that way.
Yeah, you will. And then one thing I've also learned, like with moving in the right direction, always doing something to better whatever it is. And for me, it's, obviously trying to like reach out to guests or doing something for the podcast every day, is I'll just send invites to people like yourself. Like I sent invite. He might say no, but so what? You just keep on moving and find somebody else. So again, thank you for signing up. That's cool.
Yeah, man. Well, I didn't know you came to the show, so that makes. I was like, all right, this guy's doing a little research, and that's good. That's good. That's good for what you're doing. To be informed about your guest, and I appreciate it.
Well, like I said, I'm a huge comedy fan, and I've been a comedy fan since I was a teenager. I remember the first comedian I ever seen or heard was Dane Cook.
Oh,
and, dude, I love Dane Cook. He's one of my favorites, and I remember his joke specifically. I was in the youth group. We were going to some sort of church event, and one of the guys brought his MP3 player, and we're sitting in the van in the church going to this event, or at the church going to this event, and we're like hiding behind the chairs because we didn't want the youth pastor to see us listening to our MP3 players. And we're listening to Dane Cook, and it was his cheating joke, and he's like talking about how, he's sneaking in the house at like 2 or 3. Cheater, lie.
Yeah.
Bro. Oh my gosh. One of the, from that moment on, I've been hooked on comedy. And I actually had a chance to go see Dane Cook recently within the last few years. And it was extremely cool.
Did he rip it for you?
Oh, he did.
So I got a story. So it's funny because you talked about Dane like that. Number one, if you are a Dane fan, follow him on Twitter because he does like live Q&As all the time, and you can ask him any questions. And he's very like open. He'll answer your questions for you, and it's pretty cool. But when I was out in LA one of the years, because I love Dane too. Like that was one of the first comics I ever heard. Okay. Him. It was like he was like the first one like I really heard because all my friends like worked at Burger King, and he had that BK Lounge show.
Oh my god, yeah.
And he had like his brother was the manager or whatever, and he was like, oh yeah, he thought he was the king, and like so we like every single one of my friends worked at Burger King at one time. It was like a legacy. Like I did, my buddy PJ did, my buddy Waz, my buddy Jake, and my buddy Blaine. So that's 5 of us who all worked at Burger King at one point of our lives, and we'd go there every day, and we'd get free sodas from my buddy Blaine, and I remember just listening to that album like all the time, just like laughing the Kool-Aid Man. Yeah. And just like I remember being in a hot tub with like my friend and like these 2 girls. We're all listening to Dane Cook. We're all laughing like and I was in LA, and my buddy John opened up for him. Like he was like opening for him all the time, and I was sleeping on John's futon and in LA, and he's like, let me crash there. And one day he's like, what are you doing for the Super Bowl? And I'm like, I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, you want to come to watch the Super Bowl at Dane Cook's house? And I'm like, let me check my calendar and see what I can do, And so I'm like sitting there, and freaking, I'm like calling everybody back at home. Like my buddy Dave Compton, like we were doing shows, like we were going to like all these open mics together. Like we'd always carpool. And I'm like calling him, I'm like, I'm about to go to Dane Cook's house. I'm about to make it, man. I'm like, I'm making it today, And I remember exactly the Super Bowl. It was the Broncos with Peyton Manning and the Seattle Seahawks. When Seattle just wiped their freaking ass with the freaking Broncos, like they beat them so bad. And it was so funny because like I was so nervous when I was like there with Dane. He was like, Super said was, oh, Peyton Manning's got this. Like that was my only line of the whole night. I was so nervous. And then Peyton Manning's got whooped. Oh, okay. Where'd I get cut out at?
You cut out I think with Peyton Manning. it was for a couple seconds.
So. Oh, that was the only thing I said because I was so nervous like seeing Dane, because like in my head I'm like holy like this guy's like the guy, what I mean, like the number one guy.
Yeah.
You see him like doing Madison Square Garden and all that kind of stuff. And I'm at his house. I'm like all nervous. John's like, don't be like a big fan, a fanboy or whatever, like don't be like, which like I can do. Like that's like exactly what I did when I met Pauly Shore. I was like, hey, Mr. Shore. I was like so pumped. I was like, anything you need, I got it. I'm the man. I'll do it for you. I got it done. Like, And he's like, oh, like Pauly Shore's like, hey, calm down, man. And but so the only thing I said with to Dane was, oh yeah, Peyton Manning's got this. Like, there's no way he's losing this game, and then he loses by like 40 points or something. I was like, oh, what an idiot! I was definitely got that wrong.
Oh,
but that was like one of the coolest moments, because like Dane lives like in this like house like up in the hills, and like you like walk up and you look, you can see like the whole city, and it's beautiful. Wow. And it's beautiful, and you're like, wow, like this is like what comedy could be.
Yeah, you know, that's what could really that's what it could get you.
And it was just cool to meet like one of the people that, you know, introduced you into comedy. It was like he was like one of the first people I ever heard like do comedy. And then I seen Ralphie May live. I love Ralphie May. That's my dude to the day I die, dude. Like, I have so much gratitude for him. Like, he's the nicest guy ever, and like gave so much good information to me about comedy. Like, it was insane. Like most of the times when you ask people like for info, like, hey, can you give me like some advice for comedy? And they just like say, oh, follow your dreams, you know, or like I'm not lying. That's a real thing. That's what Dave Coulier told me. He goes, follow your dreams. I was like, I can't use that. You know, like that's not like applicable. You know, that's what I'm doing. But right. But like I talked to Ralphie, and he was like, he's like, all right. He's like going over like how to tell a joke. He's like, most people won't tell you this. He's like, you either got to figure this out on your own, which may take you a really long time, or, you know, you find somebody who's like real, like me, and they'll tell you right away. And he's like, this is how you tell a joke. And to this day, like, it's ingrained in my memory. It's like, you do a setup to the left, setup to the right, punchline in the middle. And when you do that, you scan all the way to the side of the audience, all the way to this side of the audience, and then you bring them in. You keep everybody accountable. Did I lose it? Nope, I got low battery.
We can wrap it up soon.
You keep everybody accountable with your eyes, and that brings everybody in for the punchline. And it's like, it's a psychology thing. And if I were to learn that on my own, how long would that have like took me? Yeah, that would have took me. I don't know if I would ever figure that out. You know, like without somebody just saying, "Hey, this is how you tell a joke." I'm like, wow, that's like a basics 101. Yeah, like really actually helpful to, and you can use that even if you're not even doing jokes. You're just doing public speaking. Yeah, and you're trying to engage your audience. And you're trying to work with them. Like, if you notice when I'm doing my crowd work, and this is a thing that I've learned from one of my comedy mentors too, Bill Bouchard. He does a lot of crowd work. Is that I'll do somebody on this side. I'll be, hey, what's going on over here? Ask a question. Somebody on this side and somebody in the middle as well. That way I can keep the jokes popping and keep the whole audience engaged. And, you know, it happens pretty much like subconsciously now. Like, I don't have to think about it. Yeah, but it's a way to keep everybody engaged. So if you're like ever doing any kind of public speaking or something like that, and you're just trying to keep everybody looking at you, because today's age, everybody's on their phones. Everybody, if you ain't looking at them, they're trying to do some shit, you know. Yeah, they're on their fucking Tinder or fucking whatever they're doing on their, like, who, like, I see people that are so addicted to their phone that they're looking at their phone and there's no internet service. And they're just looking at a screen, just because they're so conditioned. Yeah, they're like, addicted. I'm addicted. Yeah, I'm addicted to my phone, and that's one thing I'm trying to do is get off my phone. That's like my next goal. Is like if I can get away from my phone, because you ever look at your data of how long you're on your phone? I don't want to. Yeah, mine's embarrassingly high, and if that's like your biggest adversary right now, if you're doing public speaking, because people, it's like crack. They just like they want to look at it. What's going on? Ooh. Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. That's actually really good advice. I think I'm going to use that if I ever try stand-up comedy. I'm going to use that. Yeah, definitely use it. And if you're just doing if you're doing any kind of speech, you're like the best man at a wedding, or if you know, you have to go to, you know, say something for town hall, or
Right.
you know, or you're pitching an idea to, you know, maybe you got like a group, like maybe you got like a sponsor that you're trying to go, you know, and you're sitting there and you're trying to engage the whole team, you know, keep them accountable, look at them.
Right.
It works. It surely it does. It's kind of wild. It's like
That's cool. That's interesting. I didn't realize that. But now that you mentioned that, like going to comedy shows and seeing the way comedians engage the crowd, they do that.
Yeah, especially been doing it for a while. You want to keep everybody cool. Yeah,
right.
You're like the ringleader at the circus, and if you don't run it good, things can get amok. You know, people can go crazy.
Well, Mike, this has been fun. I think we've been going for about an hour. I feel like I could listen to you talk all day. You have a great personality. You're hilarious. You're funny. You're just like naturally funny.
Thanks.
Yeah, and if you're ever in the Lansing area, let me know. I'll have you on the podcast in person. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
And maybe we can get together and maybe get some food or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I got some friends down in Lansing, so hopefully I'll get some get a show going on there, and maybe pop on down and do a podcast and do another one, because I'll definitely do this again. There's a lot, you know. I really appreciate the professionalism and in your interest in the genre of comedy.
Oh, I love comedy. It's one of those, it's like I mentioned, it's one of those things that like I never want it to go away. And I've actually interviewed a couple other comedians here locally. I'm not sure if you know who they are. But Pat Severe, how do you say his name?
Severe?
Yeah.
We started together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were doing the open mic at Lansing Connections a long time ago. Him and I were in a Dorito, like we were trying to like win a Doritos competition, like for the Super Lad. And I remember like it was shot at the Comedy Connections, and like I had like this girlfriend or whatever in the skit, and like I was like supposed to be kind of like being a douchebag, like that was like my character, and they're like, here, this is what you're getting cast as, and like what a stretch. And his character was like kind of like a nerdy guy, and he's like eating Doritos, and he's like getting like crazy with it. He's got like these like Dorito like paw prints, and like I got my girl there, and I'm like just kind of like looking at him weird, and then like she gets up and she has like this big fat ass, and she's got like Dorito prints on her ass from his hand, and like I don't know, like it's a joke on me, you know what I mean? Like the guy's eating Doritos, squeezing my girlfriend's ass, but we didn't win, but it was like fun to do, it was
that's cool.
It was a fun old memory with him. But like all those guys in Lansing, back in the day, I used to be in Lansing all the time doing open mics. The Green Door used to have an open mic. I did the Max open mic like a couple times, but the Green Door I was at a lot, and then Connections when they were open, like that. That's like almost heartbreaking losing Connections, because it was such a nice club, and the manager Tina, bless her heart, she was the best lady ever. She was always so welcoming, and gave me a place to perform comedy there, and it was like really a really special time, because in the beginning comedy, it's like it's really like just. It's so new. It's like being at Christmas for the first time, like the magic of it. You're like, what's gonna happen? You're like, what's the night gonna be like? And when you're first starting, like, you're like, is there gonna be an audience there? And if there is an audience, you're like super pumped. You're like, oh, we're gonna rip this audience. And then like when you first start, like half the people aren't good. They're like just starting out, but it was like such a camaraderie, like, oh, we're all gonna hang out, we're gonna do this show. I mean, I don't know how many times, I went with my pals, we'd go to an open mic 2 hours away, 3 hours, we'd go to Ohio for an open mic. I remember driving 7 hours to the San Jose Improv for 4 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
with John Campanelli. John was he was on the show, and he's like, you wanna come do the show and split gas with me? I'll get you on. I'll get you like 5 minutes. And I get there and they're like 4 minutes. That's all you get. And I was like so brand new. I was like not even, I was like a baby in comedy, but I had my little jokes written on my hand. They went good. They went good. I got some laughs. People liked me. For the 4 minutes that I had.
That's awesome.
But that's what, the beginning of comedy is always like it's like the most magical time. I mean, because it's so adventurous.
Yeah.
And then kind of like as you go on, it's still like really fun. It's still adventure, but it's more of a business. Like you're like, all right, well, I gotta, put my head down. I gotta, hit these goals. You're not getting drunk no more. I think that maybe like another part was like pretty fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially with comedy, when you're drinking, like there's been a couple comedy clubs or shows that I've gone to where you don't drink alcohol, like they don't serve it there, and it loses something. The comedy show really does. Did you die? Your phone die?
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh no. Hang on a second.
Okay.
My buddy Jason Allen was calling me. He's coming on. So Jason Allen's coming on a whole. Man, he's so funny. He's one of the funniest Canadians out there. He's coming on a whole tour with me. He's doing like a whole month on the road with me. He's going.
Oh, very cool.
Coming from Canada, we're gonna go see Metallica at Lollapalooza, which is like his favorite thing, dude. He's got this big ass beard, and that's a funny thing I do. Like when I'm on the road with Jason, is like I'll just fuck with him. I'll like do like bands that everybody's heard of. I'll be like, Metallica, have you ever heard of them? I'm like, you got Metallica up in Canada or what? And like I'll like do that like with every single band that's like on the radio. I'm like, you heard these guys? They're like famous. But yeah, we're doing like he's on like a whole month worth of shows with me. So he's probably calling to see what's going on with that.
That's cool.
But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm on a tangent now. Where were we?
No, you're good. I was just saying that when you're not able to drink at a comedy show, it almost loses something. Like, whenever I've gone to a comedy show and you can't drink, it's like, okay, it's funny, it's comedy, but there's almost something that the alcohol brings out. Like it loosens you up. Yeah,
well, I love when the crowd's drunk. Like that makes my job a lot easier because they're looking to have a good time and they're about to have fun. Yeah, like that's good for them. I think the crowd should stay drunk and the comedians need to keep their head going. Yeah, I am for sure, because I've had some real fun shows where people are just like drunk and they're just looking to have a good time, and that's the audience I like, is the people who are like, hey, let's just go have a good time. If the comedian's great, that's awesome, but no matter what, we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah,
and those end up being like the best shows compared to the people who are like, well, let's see what this guy's got. You know what I mean? Like sitting there with a monocle or something, like they're America's Got Talent. Yeah, they're like trying to judge you. Oh, let's see. Not too bad, I would say, young feller. That's almost like anything. If they're coming to have a good time, that's what I feel like. My audience and my fans, the people that come out and see me, they're there for a good time. Like they know what they're gonna getting themselves into. They're there to laugh. They're there to have fun. Man, yeah. Just other like a couple shows. I was doing a show in Waterford. I got one guy get on stage, take his shirt off, and dance. And then one guy, there was a top hat. I gave him a top hat and a cane. He was dancing like he was the Monopoly man. Like literally, like those are the that's what makes it like fun. Like, but I feel like I got a good audience for that. Like they know we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have a good time.
Well, you just seem like a guy who likes to party.
I used to.
But you can tell, like, you genuinely like have a good time, even though you're not drinking when you're on stage. Like when you were on stage the other night, I was like, this guy likes to party. Like he seems like he would be somebody fun to go to a club with, or somebody to go to a party with. Like it just seems like it would be a good time.
So back in the day, like when MySpace happened, right? And this is kind of like what I was like in promotions, right? I remember I was in high school and MySpace came out and my name was Captain Crunk on Facebook. You know, like shout out to like Lil Jon.
Yeah.
You know, and the principal, I remember it was like my principal, Mr. Blower. He'd like see me in the
Mr.
hallway.
Blower.
Like, how's it going, Mr. Captain Crunk? And I'm like, oh no, they know. And like I'm like, I got like these pyramids on my MySpace profile picture, and I remember I used to love just like throwing parties and having people over and doing beer pong. Like, I mean, I used to have a kegger before the football game. I'd have people come over and drink before the football game, then go to the football game, and then come back and drink the rest of the keg afterwards.
Oh my gosh.
But the biggest party that I think I ever helped throw was, there was like this campground in Michigan. It's called Big Bend. And I went to it one year. It was like really fun. And so I was like super excited about like doing it again. So I like started a Facebook event, and I did the same thing I did for like Ralphie May, but for this campground. I rented this big space. They gave me a flat rate, and I said, hey, just have everybody pay, $8 a day at the door. And I'm supposed to get this extra money back, like over the fee. But like the whole, like the thing went viral. Like everybody came to, and it was called Big Ben Drunk Fest. And my dad's like looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? Drunk Fest. And like I'm supposed to go up there on Saturday, and people were showing up on Friday, and like it was like out of control. Like people were wasted. There were so many people that were wasted. And like the owners of the campground were like looking at me, and they're like, people are jumping the fence, and I'm like wasted. I'm like, I'm not border control. Like I can't help you. And so like they're so mad at me. Like they're like won't deliver firewood. So people are like, everybody's so like mad, like they're overturning tables, and they're going nuts. They're drinking. One guy got a DUI at the campground, like, but it was the funnest time ever, because we lived that moment. We lived so carelessly and had so much fun, and it's a moment I'll always remember. But it's not something you can do when you're 33. You know what I mean? You got to get your shit together when you're older.
Right.
Like that's
exactly.
something you do when you're 21 or 22.
Yeah.
I mean, those days are retired for me, unless they're retired, man. I can't do it.
That's awesome. That's good. Well, I mean, I hope, the best for you, and I hope that you continue to have a successful comedy career. I mean, you're killing it. You're doing good. You're hilarious, and you're obviously booked up, so you'll be successful.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I'm gonna manifest that success onto you too. Shit. Next thing, you'll be interviewing Dane. Freaking on there.
I've actually thought about trying to reach out to him. Because I do know he does talk with his audience a little bit. So yeah. I thought about it, but then I'm like, that's one of those things that might be, I don't know. It's kind of it's nerve-wracking a little bit. But
I do a few more. I build up your resume and then pitch them. You know what I mean? Keep building up the ladder. Build it and be like, well, I did this guy, and and then start get on that Twitter Q&A and start developing a relationship. Ask them questions. You get on there like 10 times. You start talking to them. You never know. Because he likes helping out people, and he I just listened to him talk on there, and he was talking about something I haven't really thought about in a while, about like how he's doing his comedy. He's doing his comedy in like 3 acts, like a play, a beginning act, a middle act, and a finishing act. And I really didn't I wasn't really thinking about like comedy that way, but he is. So that's making me think like, well, maybe I should be thinking about it like that way. The way he builds his set, because there's obviously something that he's been doing for 30 years. There's stuff he knows that I haven't even contemplated yet. So, if I can learn anything from him, just like Judd, like if he's got anything to teach me, I'm like, tell me. I'm trying to absorb it.
Right.
So if you can get on there, I mean, whenever he does it, I put my notifications on for him. If if you're a big fan like that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, thanks for doing this. It was fun. I'll let you know when the episode will be available, and yeah, hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Absolutely, man. Keep rocking.
All right, man. You too.
Peace be with you.
All right. See ya.